my talk today is on creativity, and I've entitled it Fully Alive. And I'll get to that reason. You'll find out why. Okay. So, the first question, what is creativity? So, creativity is defined dictionary, the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of artistic work. So let's start this talk with myth busting. Creativity is not just for artistic work. Where's JR? For EMG, diba, JR? We have careers that blend creativity, engineering experience, and strategic vision. For PDs, that's Mike over there and Ian, I don't know where Apple is, careers that blend creativity, financial expertise, and strategic vision. For legal, and that's attorney, she blends creativity, legal expertise, and strategic vision. And let's now move into danger zone. In politics, some people have careers that blend creativity, lethal expertise, and selfish vision. So we know that creativity is a force that can be used for both good and bad. The second myth busting, is that creativity is not something you outgrow. There is this mistaken belief that, when you're young, you're creative, and then as you get older, you start losing it and you become, more careful. Well, it's kind of true. But being creative, like cooking, di ba? May magagaling magluto dyan, singing in the shower, putting a TikTok video together, like what Laika's trying to make people do, is something that most of us do just for the fun of it. So a sense of play comes into it. So I guess a better dictionary definition for creativity could be something as defined as a tendency to generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems, communicating with others, and sometimes just entertaining ourselves and others. Okay, so here are two works that I made, okay? Which one is more creative? Who think, the one on the left, I did using AI. So we're bringing up the AI question now with creativity. So the one on the left, I created using AI. It's a photograph of me holding an armful of French bulldogs of my sister-in-law. And I put it into the computer, the program basically, pressed the button, it came out, voila, beautiful watercolor. But akong gumawa niyan, ha? I pressed the button. I decided this is beautiful. Di ba? Gawa ko yan, right? The second one is it's actually my first commissioned piece of art from my dad. He asked me to draw him. My mom passed away in 2020. And he asked me to draw her with him. And just representing the relationship. So you see there, the joined hands, the 9 birds of paradise, her favorite flower, those are the 9 grandchildren, the 5 bananas. I know it's not, the best piece of art, but it's something that I really put a lot of myself into. So which one, left or right, do you feel is something that is more creative? Who says the dogs? Okay, who says my mom and dad? Okay, so we've come to a common definition of creativity now. With AI, the ability to create is really high, but the ability to be creative is kind of low. It doesn't take much effort from yourself. It makes it easy to create, but doesn't make it easy to really be creative. So creation versus creativity. There's that one-shot interaction, that's the AI. And then there's the iterative, back and forth, pushing back and forth and seeing to get everything just the way you want it. That's where creativity comes in, and that's what I'm talking about when I say creativity. So, just to sum things up, creativity is that one thing that demands the most and delivers the best out of you. So the words I've put in here are imagination, freedom, play, and innovation. This all come into play for creativity. Okay. So we're done with the definition of creativity. Let's move into open-mindedness and risk-taking. The way the human brain works, you tend to fall back on repeated ideas, the stuff that we know. And I have here a graph depicting that. These are all dots, known elements. You can, just freely move back and forth and have a full life within these dots that are fully known to you. But for creativity, to move to the way of creativity, it means like going out of your comfort zone, being game for an adventure, meaning like pushing and seeing, what other dots don't I know about yet? What do I want to, know about and expand my horizon and, figure out, like traveling, like do you tend to always just stay with your barkada or do you try and go out and have conversations with the locals and learn about them? So creativity really needs that kind of push and going towards what you don't know you will encounter, and then leaving the final outcome to chance. Okay, the importance of having an open mind and being receptive to new ideas and experiences is that sometimes we come up with something entirely unexpected, maybe even mind-blowing. So be open to surprising suggestions. Sometimes the process will feel fresh and exciting. Sometimes the results are simply better. Now I know a few people struggle with giving up control. You always need to have that sense of risk and a sense of surprise, but you don't want it to be totally random. Basically, you're looking for a right balance between surprise and control. But basically, I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to move into the way of creativity, take a chance and surprise yourselves once in a while. When we talk about creativity, the word failure also comes into play. Failure is a crucial part of learning new skills. It's the foundation of doing a bad job, yes, but it's also the foundation of building new strength and new learning as we rise every time we fall. There is value of learning from mistakes and failures because this is a key part of the creative process, a key in developing your creative muscles. Sometimes you fail, of course. Artists work at their art, developing skills over months and years. Failing is the one thing you have to do to develop creative skills for yourself, like learning to play the guitar or learning to dance. Another big part of the creative process is reflection, a particular type of focused, deliberate thinking. It's what happens when a new idea hits you, or when an assumption you had turns out to be wrong and you need to rethink your approach. It's the opposite of the one-shot interaction. It's that back and forth that builds up your personal brand of creation. Okay. So I move towards my last slide on open-mindedness and risk-taking. And really, we need to have open minds, to be open to adventure, to taking risks, to learning from mistakes, to not being afraid to fail in order to strengthen our freedom to be ourselves and thus become the most powerfully creative we can be. So now we move towards the meat of the presentation, which is really the DMG story. When I was asked to head DMG, that's in January 2025, my mandate was clear. So Eileen had been handling the project development team for quite a while without a DMG head because Sir E.T. had passed a little more than a year before then. And she was kind of tired of playing referee. Each of the project, the brands were trying to, of course, come up with the best product. And what was happening was that we couldn't really define already, which is low, middle, high, and was getting muddled up. So she's basically asked me, come in, and let's set this straight. And so the DMG goals that were set for me were, so the design brand experience hierarchy, meaning let's make it straight na, so socialized, economic, mid-income, the branding. No? And then also come up with really competitive products. It had been a number of years since we had last reviewed our products, our designs, and competition had really sprouted and come up with really great products. So sis Eileen was like, kailangan kagandahan, di ba? So it's like, so that's number one, beautiful products, and then focus on the needs of the market. Make sure that our projects meet the current needs of our buyers, residents, and their families. And then the third goal was to establish brand recognition for Joy Nostalg. And this is all set within the bounds of the mission of homing the homeless, powering the powerless, and loving the love least. So DMG, right? Before then, I had been in charge of the master plan development group. And that's a very small band. We were just, me and three guys. Three guys whom I had picked, trained, and I knew what we could do together. And then I was being asked to come into a whole stable of architects that were kind of unknown to me. And in my head, I was like, no, I mean, I had some encounters with them in the past, but it was like, sino ba sila? Di ba? And then, magagaling ba, di ba? You want to know. You're coming into a team. And then, are they engaged? Are they motivated? I had to find out, right? And I guess this is like the meat of the creativity, meaning my approach to basically getting the department into the shape that I had in mind. So, you'll see here, it's something that Sir June asked us mga executives to do when he had just met us. Me anyway. And it was like he wanted to just have a general idea of what you're all about. It's an online exam that tells you what your strongest character traits are. And happily, a number of them, or marami sa kanila, humor, strongest trait. So I was like, okay, we've got a sense of humor. If all else fails, at least we can go laughing, right? So, very good, diba? Sense of humor, check. And then the next one, magagaling ba sila? So, what I did, among the first things I did when I sat with them was to have a design competition. So everybody equal. Newbies, and then the heads, and everybody else. And then, surprise, surprise. And this is me selecting my favored ones, and then having these three favored ones present to the full team, and then having the full DMG vote on who's the winner. And the winner was our newest guy, and that's Kevin. So it was like, diba? So yay for Kevin. So it was like really leveling the playing field and then finding out, who's who, what's what. And so, alam ko na, diba? More or less. And then the third thing was, I had to know also, what's inside of them? Are they engaged? I had done some, what you call, serious play using Lego bricks. A friend of mine had gotten into it. And I went through a session with them. And I felt it was something I could handle. And so I bought a lot of, Lego sets. And I had them, I sat with them, and I asked them questions like, so how do you see yourself? What is your role in MDG? Okay? And this is just a sampling of what I got. Some saw themselves as bridge of understanding, glue that binds, foundation, foundation of empathy, sorry for the typo, a support system, and then strong bond of souls. And I was like, yikes, ano to? Parang doesn't feel happy, di ba? Yung parang support system. Bakit? Ano bang nangyayari dyan? Di ba? And it's like glue that binds. I had all these, questions. But then when I asked them, okay, let's look into the future, and it's December 2025, and it's Joy Nostalg Culture Day. And I asked them, what do you think, how do you think they regard DMG in December 2025 after we've done everything we want? And the answers were very promising. Things like weaving connections, meaning being the glue that lets departments talk to each other. We inspire. Master builders. Basically, they were owning it, no? And then here, these were the really encouraging ones. Shine like a diamond. Pushing for the extraordinary. And then what I liked, okay, star ng Pasko. So, di ba, parang feeling ko naman, aba. May laban, di ba? It's like, their spirit. These guys want to fight. They want to fight, and they want to, they want to lead. They want to be, they want to be recognized for a value add to the company by Christmas of 2025. Okay, so game on. So whereas my tendency would have been to rely on my first team, my MDG team, and then dissemination to the rest of DMG, because I saw their spirit and because I saw that they were game, it was like, let's do this. This is Aldwin. He was like, Ma'am, they really want it. So it was like, game. Everybody in. We will be a design group, and everybody's input, everybody's creativity on display, and for training. Okay. Sorry, I'm very low tech, so I have your printout of my slides, as well as my notes on my So we came up with an assessment of the needs, and created task forces. I'll say this is us with everybody's goals for 2025. So the task forces were on amenities, design brand experience, landscaping, placemaking, deed of restrictions assessment, even the design process framework went under scrutiny, materials and specs, design issues. And then there's this mission order that Sir June had sent us to visit all the villages in Naik. And what were our learnings there? Those were the learnings that would guide us for designing for the long run. So what happened was that this team that had been, used to their blue dots, basically follow the sequence of the project and everything, we were now thrown into the rethink everything mode. And then for each of these task forces, there was a leader and there were members. And since we were just 16 of us, some of us were leaders in some groups, some of us were followers in other groups. But so basically, all these things came in wherein, you're challenged to be a leader, and you're also challenged to have the humility to be a follower. And then basically engaging everyone in all these tasks. And so I guess the first part of my my task here was my creativity in the workplace formula was really getting to know the team, getting to know their strengths and weaknesses, setting standards on output and operating standards in the way we do things, My role was to be fair, be encouraging, be consistent, and then push, push, push. And then until they take on the reins for me. So it was like, I'm teaching things, they're learning things, and at first I'm juggling a lot of the balls, and then slowly I start throwing it to them one at a time. And then they're picking it up. And then before you know it, they're already juggling on their own. And before you know it, it's like all of us, we're getting to the swing of doing this on top of the normal job. And so basically, that's how the mode has been in DMG for the past, I'd say, 4 or 5 months. Getting all these ideas out into outputs that can be basically, that can move into production for 2026. Okay. The second part of the building creativity in the workforce was then the input, bringing in ideas for everybody. We had to bring in new ideas so that they weren't just talking among themselves and what they currently know. So we had we attended expos. We had pechakuchas. Those are like every Fridays or maybe twice a month. We would have like new ideas coming in, and someone would have to present it to everyone. And then we'd have talks with suppliers, sometimes training with suppliers. We had skills building, like master planning courses for everyone, and then we wanted also for interior design and landscaping. And then we instigated regular meetings, collab meetings, like right now with EMG, that's going very strong. We're still trying to get regular schedules with PD, but we're talking a lot more with like the procurement group, the PM group, the foundation group. And then also for our knowledge about our end users, we have regular meetings on site, basically, right? And what everyone has to do is to basically video log or take photographs, and then it's disseminated into something that everybody in DMG knows what's going on in everyone's projects. So that's something that that's the next part, making sure that there's always venue for new ideas to come in, for new ideas to be generated, and then also so that more creativity and more creative solutions can be found. Okay, so what has become the output or the effect on my DMG guys? So with all this cross-posting and being leaders and members of various groups, they've learned to be a lot more flexible. The roles have necessitated them also collaborating a lot more with different groups in the company. So that has kind of opened their world and their knowledge of how things work. So there's more freedom and more knowledge on how to perform. And then there's the learning how to share ideas properly, the presentation skills required for all of our meetings or for all of our sessions. Okay, the learning to stand our ground, to maintain the DMG goals of the design brand experiences, the need-based, the beautiful projects, and establishing the JNG brand to the world. So basically, it has built confidence and a dynamism in everyone and a resourcefulness, because they come to me for answers and they go, it's always a back and forth. And so who should we talk to? Who should we, it's always like, where do we get ideas? Where do we get answers? It's always like that. And they know that already. So they become more independently looking for things, looking for solutions, finding ideas, and being basically proactive also. So one of the guys, Mylene knows this, because we've been doing the Joy Nostalg office renovation for the past 2 years, Mylene. And then there's a lot of iterations, a lot of changes, and then how things don't stay in the same place for the company. We're always growing. And so really designing for something that's always moving is quite challenging. So what this guy has done is he's actually created a program using a climatic model that his mom uses in ADB for all these different these factors to put in so that you can kind of predict outcomes and that sort of thing. So if you're talking creativity, we're not limited to drawing or architecture. It's also this tech savvy in using things like Excel and other programs to get into good design and saving time and efficiency. So we have basically, we have created and shaped a more focused and dynamic DMG. And I guess what I wanted to relay now is, so this is what we did in DMG, but really, we are all in the business of creating and recreating wherever our lives bring us, and shaping each day with our choices. So my message, I guess, with this talk on creativity is that it's taking the courage to take on, the role of leading where your life's gonna go, and basically building in an openness and flexibility, and basically learning to be open to communication, to saying that first hello, and seeing where things take you. And there, I guess that's where my message is. It's like in creation, well, let me just share with you first some of our products now, but basically creativity will push you to be more proactive in where you want things to go. And the result is that you are more, discerning and more confident. I just wanted to share with you here in the next few slides some ideas, just so you get a flavor of it. No? These are the gate design entrances for our socialized homes, for the subdivision gates. And on the left side, it's really more for vehicles, no? So questions from the team were like, but aren't most of our residents pedestrians? So shouldn't the bias for design be for pedestrians? And so you have here, then we have a wider pedestrian area. It is roofed for comfort. There is built-in benches. And then it's also roofed all the way to the curb, where we have also created now like a tricycle lay-by, because most of them are commuters. And so here is an example of something that is designed, which is focused on the needs of our customers. And then if you talk, this is a perspective of it, no? It's quite beautiful. And if you notice, even the underside of the waiting shed, we're now introducing LED lights and color. So even at night, it's it's delightful to go home. And I'm showing now here, this is the pagsibol version, just because Mike was so appreciative of this when it came out. And it's always nice to have, happy clients. And then here's another example. The layout on the left side, the yellow portion is the health center. The right side is the daycare center. And it's, all good to have simple design, or, that is quite economical to build. But really, just by, almost the same area build, just by spacing them apart and allowing the outdoors to become part of the living experience of our residents, we've now introduced a green space that can be a play area, which expands the daycare. So I guess what my message here is that we really are trying to, make the environments of our residents and our buyers really places where they're proud of, where they can thrive, they can live real lives. You see here we're introducing culture with murals, and then also just with the use of paint, we're able to have multi-use spaces. We're trying to introduce customized play equipment so that we're also able to hire some of our residents to build this simple play equipment. And then there's also a focus now on keeping landscape very simple. So it's something that on the long term is something we can keep alive. So, so basically, yeah, we're working hard at making beautiful areas for our for our basically for our residents and buyers. And the words I put here for creativity in the workplace are engagement, ownership, passion, and fulfillment. And really the way to get things going across groups and across people is communication and collaboration. So the DMG story is one that illustrates the power of approaching with creativity, purpose, and passion. It shows how creativity and passion have made a positive impact, how this initiative has brought joy and fulfillment to the individuals involved, and how it has contributed to the company's mission. So, in the corporate setting, creativity is attributed to be the reason for the longest staying employment, the most innovative companies, the highest performing companies, and also the happiest employees. So this is really something that we really should push to aspire for and to move towards. So we come to our final portion of my talk on creativity, and this is entitled Fully Alive. And the reason for this is because we talk about creativity as something that involves your whole being. You have to bring, your thoughts, your ideas into it, everything that you are. And in a corporate setting, basically, we spend 8, 10, 12 hours of work each day. And basically, I guess what I'm pushing for is that when you bring your values to work, or basically you have to have shared values with your company so that then you're able to really make, to harness the most of yourself, and then bring that and bring your whole selves into your company. And then when you connect and communicate with others, then you're able to make things like magic happen. There is this saying that, that I really love. It's the glory of God is man fully alive. And this is my parting slide, actually. So man fully alive, man at his most creative state, man really involved and engaged in living a life of his or her choice. So basically for me, like living a creative life is really living the glory of God, or having the glory of God shine through your lives. And this is something that I really champion, and I wish and I really want for all of you. It'll be good for you, it'll be good for the company, and we'll all be a lot happier for it. So, thank you for your time. I hope you picked up something from my short time with you. Thank you.